I've been harping on some of the same things for 8 years and haven't really seen much improvement. I was very disturbed a few days ago. I looked at the website for the schools and they had the summer reading, and it it was just pathetic. I mean, I think the high school kids are supposed to read one book of their choice. And a lot of our scores would go up in math too, I think, but definitely in reading, if kids just had to read more. The school system should say, beginning in kindergarten, you're in Kent County schools now, and everybody here reads, and every and we all read a half an hour a night, and have to show it. But they're very reluctant to do that, and it's funny because they don't want to require homework because of equity, because some kids are in homes where nobody's around to supervise them and people are working two jobs. And I understand that, but the issue of summer reading is it's exactly where low income kids get further and further behind. And children of educated parents generally do have to read more than one book in the summer. And it's really, it's just practice. We're getting all this money and have every school board meeting we hear about some new reading program that they're having, but it will do nothing unless kids spend more time reading. What has most surprised me being on the school board is how that parents here are not as involved as they should be. Not just with schools. I mean, hardly anybody is in a PTA anymore. It's too bad. But with their kids' education. You don't have to be in the schools all the time, but you really do have to be making sure kids are reading at home. When you have, I don't know, 40% of our sixth graders can't read, that's a huge problem. They're not getting much out of school. But more and more, I think the problems with schools are way beyond what you can do locally. And even this Kerwin law that we have, I'm not very optimistic about it doing much because it doesn't really deal with the real problems. We give tenure to teachers for just being ordinary after 3 years. Nobody else in America gets lifetime employment after 3 years of doing an average job. No one. We would never, there's no company would do that. No judges don't get tenure when they're 25. And now that, we're going to be paying teachers quite a bit, they're going to get a huge raise. And I think good teachers deserve a lot of money. They're very worthwhile. But and we have many good teachers. But just as a policy, which is a policy in many states, I think in some states it's after 2 years they get tenure. This is giving lifetime employment to people who are not even 25 years old. It isn't true here because we're so small. But this is the way it works in big districts like the one I was in Texas. And the former human resources director here told me it was true everywhere. And this is what happens. So you have a school and a new teacher comes, we'll call her Miss Smith. And the parents give her a few weeks. And then it just becomes clear that she's incompetent and the class is out of control. So they go to the principal and ask they want their kids out of that class. And generally, these teachers who are not good get transferred to the lowest, the schools that have the poorest kids, the kids who don't speak English, the parents who also went to these bad schools and they don't even know how bad things are. But if a kid has a really incompetent teacher for, first, second, and third grade, they're kind of doomed. And that happens all over America. And we're so small that it really doesn't happen here. But it is, I just think it's, when you talk about equity, that's the very first thing that we should talk about is, that you just can't get rid of incompetent teachers. I think, and I said this when I ran for the school board 8 years ago, that if our schools were rated in the top 5, we wouldn't have trouble attracting teachers or principals. We have very few people apply for these jobs. And I do think that's a challenge for the next school board. How do you get more than, if you're going to have a principal's position, I'd like to see 50 people, not 3, apply. But a lot of the things that are wrong with schools, you cannot deal with locally. Our schools in America have hardly changed in the last 50 years. Yet almost all women work, or it seems like all women work, and yet we have these incredibly long summer vacations. 10 weeks. My grandson is here because his parents work, and I'm able to take care of him and pay for some camps and things in the summer. But the schools do have some summer programs that are quite good, but it's a real hassle for working parents to figure out what to do with their kids for half of June, all of July, and August. And I just think, and getting out of school early. The parents work till 5, kids are out long before that. Or they go to school way early in the morning. I think we have high school starting at 7:20 or something, which every pediatrician tells you is not the right thing to do. But I think some things like that just really have to change. I have a granddaughter in California who goes to a private school that's year-round, and it's pretty expensive, but her parents say, we don't have to deal with summer camps at $1,000 a week in the summer. And
I hadn't thought about that.
yeah, so it just seems incredible to me that our school schedule, the daily schedule and the yearly schedule, has hardly changed since 1955. And everybody's life has changed a lot since then. So, and I don't see that Kerwin, they didn't add days to the school year. We should. Well, I really think we have a very good school board, and that Joe Getz has done a fine job being president. It's a compatible school board. It's very civil. Some people may just think we're rubber stamps because almost everything is unanimous, but that's just the sign of a well-run school district. We know what's coming up, and school board meetings are business meetings for the most part. They are things that school boards have to vote on for things to progress. It's just the law. That's the way things are. We have had a few retreats, and I think we should have had more of them, and we should still have more, because that's when you can really talk about things. But you're really limited. School board members can't get together and talk, and they're real, and we abide by those rules. We've all taken the Open Meetings Act class that you have to take, and we don't talk on the phone and we're going to get rid of somebody, or it's just none of that. Actually, in Texas, when I was on the school board, I did vote to fire the school superintendent because he needed to be fired. But I don't think that's the case here. I would like to see more parent involvement and more parents really demanding higher standards. I really think that a lot of our problems in this country have to do with people not being able to distinguish between truth and falsehood. And the only way you can really learn how to do that, it doesn't happen quickly. It happens over a long period of time. And what schools ought to do is expose kids to the best genres. You're going to read a mystery? Well, here's some really good ones. You're going to read a biography? But it's up to teachers to guide kids to really understand, why is this article good? Why is this novel good? and get them to read the good stuff. I just think we need to look at things that probably need to be done, changed at the state and national level. These endless summer vacations are ridiculous. And teachers always say they want to be paid like lawyers and doctors. And one of the reasons they're not is that they have so much time off. Yeah. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have vacations, but it seems to me a 6-week vacation, who goes away for longer than that? Who can afford it? Yeah. And equity, everything's about equity. Poor kids get farther and farther behind. The whole first month of the year is review. That's a lot of waste of time.